Alright guys, let's get on with this Raidraptor deck profile. First off, we're starting with triple copies of Raider's Wing. This card is always treated as the Phantom Knights and Raidraptor card. And if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can detach one material from your Dark Xyz monster and special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And you can only use this effect of Raider's Wing once per turn. An Xyz monster whose original attribute is dark and has this card as material gains this effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Next up, with some more 3-ofs, we have triple copies of Strange Lanius. If you control a dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except dark monsters. And if you control an Xyz monster with a dark Xyz monster as material, you can target one level 4 or lower Raidraptor monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but its effects are negated. You can only use each effect of Strangle Lanius once per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Tribute Lanius. During your main phase, if this card was normal or special summoned this turn, you can send one Raidraptor card from your deck to the graveyard. During your main phase 2, if this card destroyed an opponent's monster by battle this turn, you can add one Rank Up Magic Quick Play spell from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Raidraptor monsters, and you can only use each effect of Raidraptor Tribute Lanius once per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Pain Lanius. Cannot be used as an Xyz material for an Xyz summon, except for the Xyz summon of a Winged Beast type monster. If this card is in your hand, you can target one Raidraptor monster you control that has a level. Take damage equal to its attack or defense, whichever is lower, but your choice if tied. And if you do, special summon this card. And if you do that, this card's level becomes the current level of the targeted monster. You can only use this effect of Pain Lanius once per turn. Next up, we have triple copies of Vanishing Lanius. Once per turn during your main phase, if this card was normal or special summoned this turn, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Raidraptor monster from your hand. Next up, we have triple copies of Raidraptor Heal Eagle. If all monsters that you currently control are Raidraptor monsters, minimum 1, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Raidraptor spell or trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Raidraptor Heal Eagle once per turn. Next up, and lastly for our 3-ofs on monsters, we have triple copies of Mimicry Lanius, which allows you once per turn during your main phase. If this card was normal or special summoned this turn, you can increase the levels of all Raidraptor monsters that you currently control by 1. And during your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can banish this card and add one Raidraptor card from your deck to your hand except Mimicry Lanius. You can only use this effect of Mimicry Lanius once per turn. Next up, starting off our singles on monsters, we have the one Singing Lanius. If you control a face-up Xyz monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Raidraptor Singing Lanius once per turn this way. Next up, we have the one copy of Necro Vulture, whose effect allows you, once per turn, you contribute one Raidraptor monster, then target one Rank Up Magic spell in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Also, you cannot Xyz summon for the rest of the turn except with the effect of Rank Up Magic spell card. Next up, we have one copy of Blackwing Zephyros the Elite, which allows you, if this card is in your graveyard, you can return one face-up card you control to the hand and special summon this card. And if you do, take 400 damage. You can only use this effect of Blackwing Zephyros the Elite once per duel. Lastly, for the monsters, we have the one Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. If you control the Phantom Knights monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots once per turn this way. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add one Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and you can only use this effect of Silent Boots once per turn. That's it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. So starting things off, we have two copies of Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force, which allows you during the main phase to banish one or more dark monsters from your graveyard, then target one Dark Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck one the Phantom Knight's Raidraptor or Xyz Dragon Xyz monster, whose rank equals that of the targeted monster that you control times the number of monsters banished by using it as material. Also, for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Xyz monsters, and this is treated as an Xyz summon, transferring materials to the summoned monster, and you can only activate one Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force per turn. Next up, we have one copy of the Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Launch, which allows you during the main phase to target one Dark Xyz monster you control with no materials, and special summon from your extra deck one Dark Xyz monster that is one rank higher than that monster you control by using the Xyz material, and if you do, attach this card to it as an additional material. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one Dark Xyz monster you control and attach the Phantom Knights monster from your the Phantom Knights monster from your deck to that monster as material. Next up, we have the one copy of Raidraptor Nest, which allows you, if you control two or more Raidraptor monsters, you can add one Raidraptor monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effect of Nest once per turn. Next up, we have one copy of Rank Up Magic Soul Shave Force, which allows you to pay half your life points and target one Raidraptor Xyz monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Then special summon from your extra deck one Xyz monster that is 2 ranks higher than that monster by using it as the Xyz material. Next up, we have one copy of Monster Reborn to target one monster in either graveyard and special summon it. Next up, we have one copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, which allows you to destroy all spell and traps your opponent controls, so just good for back row removal. And lastly, for these spells, we have the one called By the Grave, to basically ensure that your combos go through by targeting one monster in your opponent's graveyard and banishing it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activation of the activated effects and effects on the field of the moment of monsters with the same original name. That's it for the spells. Let's move on to the traps. So for our traps, we have triple copies of Shade Burgundy, which lets you special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster. Warrior Dark, level 4, attack 0, defense 300. This card is not treated as a trap. If you have no traps in your graveyard, you can activate this card the turn that it was set. You can only activate one the Phantom Knights of Shade Burgundy per turn. And lastly, for our traps and extra deck, we have one copy of Phantom Knights Fogblade, which allows you to activate this card by targeting one effect monster on the field, negate that face-up monster's effects, and that face-up monster cannot attack. Also, monsters cannot attack that face-up monster or target that face-up monster for attacks. And when it leaves the field, destroy this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Phantom Knight's Fogblade once per turn. And that's it for our main deck. The other 3 cards that I would run in the deck are just hand traps. Usually that's just Ash Blossom, but you could put in any hand traps that you want. And to start off our extra deck, we have 1 copy of Ultimate Falcon, which requires 3 level 10 Winged Beast type monsters. This card is unaffected by other card effects, and you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. For the rest of this turn, all monsters your opponent controls will lose 1000 attack. Also, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated. If this card has a Raidraptor monster as Xyz material, it gains this effect. Once per turn, during the end phase, you can make all monsters your opponent control lose 1000 attack, and if your opponent controls no face-up monsters, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. Next up, we have 1 copy of Raidraptor Revolution Falcon Air Raid, which requires 3 level 6 Winged Beast monsters. You can also Xyz summon this card by discarding 1 rank up magic spell and using a rank 5 or lower Raidraptor Xyz monster you control as material. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And if it was face up, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack, or to the attack it had while on the field. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Raidraptor Revolution Falcon from your extra deck, and if you do, attach this card to it as material. Next up, we have 1 copy of Triple D Duo Dawn King Kali Yuga, which requires 2 level 8 Double D monsters. After this card is Xyz summoned for the rest of this turn, other cards and their effects cannot be activated on the field, and other cards' effects on the field are negated. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach 1 Xyz monster, or 1 Xyz material rather, from this card, and destroy all spell and traps on the field. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target 1 Dark Contract spell or trap in your graveyard and set that target. Next up, we have 1 copy of Arsenal Falcon, which requires 2 level 7 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and special summon 1 level 4 Winged Beast monster from your deck. If this card has any number of Raidraptor monsters as material, it can attack up to that many times during each battle phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard while it has a Raidraptor monster as material, you can special summon 1 Raidraptor Xyz monster from your extra deck except Raidraptor Arsenal Falcon, and if you do, attach this card as material. Next up, we have 2 copies of Raidraptor Force Strix, which requires 2 level 4 monsters, and this card gains 500 attack and defense for each Winged Beast monster you control except this card. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and add 1 level 4 Dark Winged Beast monster from your deck to your hand. Next up, we have 1 copy of Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which requires 3 level 5 monsters. This Xyz summon card cannot be destroyed by card effects, and you can detach 1 material from this card, and this card gains attack equal to the total original attack of all other monsters on the field. Then, if this card has a Dark Xyz monster as material, negate the effects of all other face-up monsters on the field, and after this this effect resolves, you cannot declare attacks with other monsters for the rest of this turn, and you can only use this effect of Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon once per turn. Next up, we have one copy of Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which requires 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach 2 materials from this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and its attack becomes half its current attack, and if it does, this card gains that lost attack. Next up, we have the one copy of Evil Swarm Ouroboros, which requires 3 level 4 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Each effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field, so you can target one card your opponent controls, return that target to the hand. You could also send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, or you could also target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish that target. Next up, we have the one copy of Revolution Falcon, which requires 3 level 6 Wing Beast type monsters. You can detach one Xyz material from this card. This turn, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls, once each. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's face-up special summon monster, that monster's attack and defense become 0. If this card has a Raidraptor Xyz monster as material, it gains this effect. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. And if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack of that monster on the field. Lastly, for our Xyz, we have the one copy of Cyber Dragon Infinity, which requires 3 level 6 light machine monsters. Once per turn, you can also Xyz summon Cyber Dragon Infinity by using Cyber Dragon Nova that you control as material. This card gains 200 attack for each material attached to it, and once per turn, you can target one face-up attack position monster on the field and attach it to this card as face-up material. Once per turn, when this card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. That's it for our Xyz monsters. Let's move on to our links. Starting off, we have 2 copies of Wise Strix. This requires 2 Dark Winged Beast monsters. If this card is linked summoned, you can special summon 1 level 4 Dark Winged Beast monster from your deck in defense position, but negate its effects. Also, it cannot be used as link material. If your Raidraptor Xyz monster's effect is activated, set 1 rank up magic spell directly from your deck. And if it is a quick play spell, it can be activated this turn. You can only use each effect of Raidraptor Wise Strix once per turn. Lastly, for what I have in the extra deck, we have the one copy of Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche, which requires 2+ dark monsters. During your main phase, you can send the Phantom Knights monster from your deck to the graveyard, then set 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. If a Dark Xyz monster is special summoned to a zone or zones that this card points to, while this monster is on the field, except during the damage step, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect of the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche once per turn, and cannot be used as link material. So that's it for what I have in the extra deck. The one missing card that I don't have right now is a copy of Time Thief Redoer, which I will have up on the screen. But yeah, that's it for this deck profile. I hope you guys all enjoyed.